All right, welcome back to Make It Share It, the podcast where creativity meets courage. And today, Coop and Lauren and I are going to just talk a little bit about what's been inspiring us lately, and hopefully that helps you guys. And then also some about the creative projects that we're working on, what's going well, what's been hard. So that's the goal for today's episode, what you can expect. And as always, I'll put links and show notes for what we discuss. So let's jump into, let's just start maybe with some more inspiration side. I have a couple of things that I know I wanted to share that have been helping me lately in the creative process. But before I do that, just wanted to give you guys a chance. Anything in particular, book, song, film, show, anything, podcast that's been particularly inspiring for you guys?
I can start. I would say it's more like, I'll go like 30,000 foot level. But I finally gave up on reading books that have to do with business, spiritual stuff, like Christian life, how to make better habits. I'm out. I stopped reading them. So I had like stacks and stacks that I was trying to get to. Everyone recommends, this has changed my life. This has helped my marriage. I get it. So now what I do with those is I go to AI and I say, give me a 2-page report, and then give me a 2-page report on the biggest 3 things. Because a lot of these guys has really had one idea and some book agent helped them make it into a 300-page book, and then it gives it to me. And now I only read books, and it could be any genre, I don't care, but it has to have, there's creativity in it. Someone created a place, someone created characters, there's dialogue that someone wrote. And when I read those, I fly through them. It sparks ideas. The other ones, I was trudging to get to the end. And I could see where things were repetitive. I'm like, yeah, dude, you've made this point. I get it. Okay, do it every day. Yeah. And man, that just like, I swear that is like a thing that's been opening my brain and life for creativity. And now I don't have those books sitting next to me in my office or bedroom where they're just like, you haven't read me yet. You've had me. Your friend gave you a copy 3 years ago. They're gone. Donate them. Get them out. But I took 5 minutes to understand and digest the one point they had. That's been huge. I don't know why, but like now I'm writing and doing some stuff, and I feel like it's just because I'm reading crazy books and it helps. So it's kind of what goes in, what comes out. Like that was something that I don't know why I felt a responsibility that I needed to read these books, so that we're always on this mission to be bettering and optimizing every part of our life. I was in that little riptide and I just swam parallel to shore and got the heck out of there. Mm-hmm. And I feel great. Okay. And then the other one is music. You guys know I live in the 90s when it comes to the majority of my music. That's what I'm working out to. That's what I'm listening to. And I heard a guy explain just the other day of what drives me nuts about music. And I'm just sitting there. Usually I don't say yes and amen as much unless I'm listening to Rick Rubin, and I feel real guilty about it. This drink. Guy, I was like, yeah, take a drink. But this was like, kids today can't listen to classical music. They have no attention span and ability to, because the last 20 years, no one's written a song that gets out of time. And classical music does all the time. It slows down, speeds up, not just changes time signatures, they get out of time. Old 60s and 70s and 80s music, the drummer play behind the beat. We don't do that anymore. It's all synced up. All the choruses are copied and pasted. So the first 4 choruses you hear in a song are the exact same thing. There's no singing nuances. There's nothing. So I started going back even further when I'm trying to get ready for a music job, 60s and 70s music. And man, there's something about solos, 2-minute outros, 1-minute intros that are so creative and different. And there's so many more layers and pieces to a song that in today's world, they would go, no, chop that off. That's a different song. And we'll repeat it in that song 10 times. And that's all we listen to. And again, it's like what goes in versus what comes out. If we're just feeding ourselves copy and paste in perfect time, you just get to a place where that's all you hear and write and think and feel. So when you sit down to a guitar, that's what's coming out. And so going further back to, I mean, what really sounds like in the 60s were like 4 guys were in a room. They had 4 microphones and you recorded the song in a take. And you might have taken 70 takes to get the good one where the singer didn't have his voice crack and the bass player didn't miss a note, but it was a live recording that then got put onto an album. And like, I mean, you can hear really with like Bob Dylan, like Positively 4th Street, you're just like, you hear him like go away from the microphone at sometimes. And I'm like, did he take a drink of water? Did they leave that in? And I'm like, I love it.
Awesome.
And so I've always been geared analog, old school style, because that's what I was raised on. But there's Beatles songs with fret buzz, and I'm like, we got to leave that in. I'm feeling that as I try to listen to so much new music, I really get refreshed and energized and inspired when I go backwards, even to stuff I didn't grow up on, or like, I don't always go back to the same old hits. That is where the Spotify algorithm can help, is by saying, hey, I love Donny Hathaway, but that's only because my dad had that record for some reason. Who were the other 6 people I should have known about in the Donny Hathaway world that I don't know about now? And Spotify's like, here, let me give them to you. So yeah, those have been my 2 things lately that I'd be like, I have seen a tangible difference in how I write and feel experiencing music and books now.
Okay.
And it only took me 46 years to get there.
Yeah. Okay. I have a couple questions and comment.
Yeah.
One about the length of song and all that. But when we were doing my EP way back in 2012, there was the song The Narrow Place, and they had like an extended jam afterwards that I loved. But, we cut it because no one wants to listen to that. But I did. I loved it. So instead, it just kind of fades out on the track. And I love that. I love a good extended vamp jam session.
That's cool.
Also, okay, Spotify, how do you get it to do that? Because I feel like Spotify just feeds me what I'm already listening to, and it's very frustrating.
So sometimes for me, what I've been doing lately, and I don't know the names of them anymore. So it's like, Spotify brands all their things, and I just gave up a couple years ago. So if I go in there and I go, hey, I want a workout thing, instead of going down to someone else's workout mixes, you go to the ones created for you. Like Spotify will go through everything you have and everything you've ever listened to and make you a workout mix from songs and bands they know you like.
Yeah.
Then you go to the bottom and you can kind of refresh and be like, give me additional suggestions. And it usually takes me 5 or 6 refreshes to get out of, yes, I will listen to Counting Crows if you give it to me. I also own all those albums. Stop giving me Counting Crows. Like I'm just like, next. Yeah. Until they go, who's this? You know what I mean?
Yes. Okay.
And then I also love it. It only to me works well with the old artists. But if you go to a 70s artist and go to also like on their actual front page, listeners also listen to these.
Okay.
The algorithms of new bands, that gets really messed up because if somebody was put on a brand new playlist together and that playlist is called Cool Coffee Hangs. So those bands have nothing to do with each other. They just happen to be on a playlist. So all these listeners listen to it and now it's fans also like, and you're like, no. They don't like that. They liked that playlist vibe you put together from one of their songs.
Yes.
But the old school stuff, if you go to James Brown, it's going to show you other James Brown-ish people of that ilk that'll be like, okay, cool. I didn't know 2 of them. And you will know 8 of them, and you probably just won't be too familiar with 2 of them.
Okay. That's helpful. Okay. Last question.
Yeah.
What is an example of a book you're reading right now?
So
that you're actually reading.
That I'm reading. I have always been obsessed with true crime, even before podcasts. Like, and I don't know why, but me and my friend joke. He has this memory of me, and I don't have it, but he's my oldest friend, so I trust him. That I was reading a book like in the 6th grade on the Zodiac Killer.
No, that explains a lot.
It does explain a lot. And he remembers it because it was so thick. And he was like, dude, what are you reading? Because in those days, we're all just reading, whatever.
Chapter.
And I was like, oh, it's this crazy thing. They haven't caught him either. So he has this funny memory of me. But I've always been obsessed with those stories, especially unresolved.
Yes.
It just gets my brain going bananas.
Yeah.
So I'm in these mystery series. And so they're like, And this one's going to be a movie. It's like a pianist, a classical pianist who is a prodigy and off the charts smart and can perform things that no one else can perform. And it's kind of it's kind of a Dexter vibe, but she works with the police to help eliminate really, really bad people on this earth that the police can't catch.
Okay.
It's also weird because she's a professional musician. It's a really interesting thing, but it's just like, and they've already done the movies in production. It's like a 3-picture thing.
That's cool.
So I'm always like, who's going to play her? You better be able to play piano, or you better learn.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I love that kind of stuff. So that's where I'm in right now. And then the new one from the guy, I haven't read it yet, although it's about to be, what's his name? It's a new movie. The guy who did The Martian, the author that did The Martian with Matt Damon.
Yes.
His new one has one, not Ryan Reynolds, the other one that's hilarious.
Gosling.
Yeah. He's in it. And it's another space-ish adventure thing. I started it.
Weir. That guy's name, last name is Weir. Andy Weir.
Nailed it. Andy Weir.
Andy Weir.
The latest Andy Weir I have also. I started in Florida. So I'm like, anything creative. I found that even when that first chapter hits and they're describing a setting or a town, I'm in. Instead of the preface, it's like, when I started my first business in 1974, I was like, I'm already out. I'm just
I've got a great one for you later, Coop. Buckle up. Because I've got one that you're going to remember for years.
Yes.
Spoiler, or teaser, not a spoiler, teaser.
I knew I could count on some good, because Kent's a story guy. Like, that's the thing.
A story guy.
I found that I'm a story guy. And if there's no story or something in there, setting, characters, dialogue, something to get the story going, I'm hanging on for dear life and torturing myself trying to get through it. And part of that, I think, too, was how much of it is so I can say I read it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I read that one. I'm like, I'm out of that game. Now you can say I'm too old.
You just read it into a 2-page summary.
Yeah. Well, you're not alone. I mean, just one little anecdote is that I would say a lot of the academics I've been around that are PhDs, they speed read. I mean, they'll teach and talk about, they'll read the first chapter and the last chapter and just see if anything in the middle is worth reading. But basically pre-AI, that's what they were doing, is just going, what's the thesis? Did they stick with that thesis at the end? Is it clear? And then is that thesis interesting enough for me to dig into the middle of the book? And even then, what digging into the middle is like, what's their thesis for that first chapter that it's, kicking things off in the second chapter? Like, they're reading the first paragraph. And it's like very rarely do they go any deeper than that at all. So essentially what you're describing is you're just having AI do that for you.
Yeah.
Which, again, many of them also had assistants do that, or research companies do that, so you could get everything summarized and get to the meat of it. So you're in good company.
No, they're just much smarter. They got there so much faster. But that makes sense because those guys are reading at a level that you're just like, how are you digesting all that?
Exactly.
All the time.
That's how.
Okay. Yeah, smart.
All right, Lauren.
Well, speaking of reading, I would say the 2 things that have inspired me recently was a book called The Giver, which, interestingly enough, the first half is a story and the second half is more application. Love it. And yeah, I think that it's basically about this guy that leaves the town. Oh, I can't remember it. I've read it earlier this summer and now it's gone. But basically, has been given this dream, but he has to kind of leave the ordinary that he's kind of been in, the town of ordinary, his family, and it talks about all the kind of the barriers he has to go through, the journey, the process of it, and how he discovers his dreams. Sometimes he ends up kind of realizing he woke up in his dream, if that makes sense, where he was doing it and he was like, oh my gosh, this is the dream that I was given and I'm doing it. So it's great. So story at the beginning and then more application in the second half. And then the other book, it's escaping me. Oh no, it's Platforms to Pillars by Mark Sayers. And it was so good. It's this idea of going from making a platform for yourself instead to become a pillar, and the difference between being a platform where it's really you're building it on top of other people, where a pillar is going to make space for others, is going to bring support. I don't know all the points that he makes, but that was one that I actually read all the way through really quickly, where I didn't feel like, okay, yeah, I got it. I love how Mark Sayers will go all the way back into history and show you that platforms are not a new thing. And he weaves the story of Pharaoh and Moses and the people of Israel, and how that plays out over and over and over again in the Bible, but also over and over again in history, even modern history, where, platforms are something that you build and then you have to guard. And so everything's a competition, everything's comparison, versus becoming a pillar where it's unique to you, but you're building something that offers support to others. And then he referenced, oh my gosh, David Brooks' book, The Second Mountain, that I'm reading right now. It feels a little bit like I could probably read a summary of some of it, but the intro was so good. But basically this idea, we've got two mountains in your life. And the first mountain is one that you set out to conquer. It's how you make a name for yourself, the things that you are going for. And some make it to the top of the mountain and they realize, wow, this is not as satisfying as I thought it would be. And others just kind of get thrown off the mountain, suffering some way, shape, or form. But between the two mountains is kind of like this valley of suffering. It's either the dissatisfaction of having conquered the first mountain, or the suffering of being in, getting thrown off the first mountain, or you didn't make it. And that can be a place where you can push through, and it pushes you towards this second mountain, or it's a place where you end up just kind of camping out and being probably a shell of who you could have been if you just kind of kept pushing through. And the second mountain is one that instead of you conquering, it conquers you. And it's this idea of living beyond yourself. It's the pillar idea. It's like, okay, I've been put on earth for a reason. God's put me on earth for a reason, with a specific, unique calling and identity. And I'm going to bring this to bear on my community. And so those have really been encouraging me in just the project that I'm undertaking right now. It's what I've needed to read. And it's kind of been, it was interesting, it came across my radar. I don't even know how. I was listening to a podcast, and that's how it is for me. It's like, if you give a mouse a cookie, like I go from here and then I'm like, oh, and then that, and then that. Oh, and so that's how it's all happened. It's been like a little treasure hunt. And that's what's been inspiring me lately.
So on the pillars thing, this is something I wrote down to talk about today with y'all.
Yeah.
When it says make room for other people and it's something that people can build on.
Yeah.
Is that more for like a discipleship model, or a collaborative model? Because those are the two things, like those are my two big things that I would tell people for any creativity, especially if you're young in your 20s listening to this. Even when you're 20, you should be trying to help out someone below you, and someone should be helping you out above you, or someone you can throw things off of. And if you're not collaborating with someone on creative projects, you're probably burning a lot of time until you learn that you need to have someone, and it's way more fun. And you can, like, one pillar is great and people can build on it, but 10 pillars together working on something, you could build way more.
Even bigger.
And I'm like, collaboration and discipleship, both you being discipled and then you discipling others, are like the key to anything creative I've ever done.
Yep.
And I'm like 46, and now I understand, like, I'd much rather go in and help someone else finish a project that I'm already 2 years late into to help them with the last 3 months than sit down with a blank yellow pad and start something new from scratch, knowing I'm going to take it from 0 to 100 by myself in this room.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think I was the opposite from like 15 to 30. My prime years I got to be in a room coming up with an idea, writing and putting it out so that only my name's on it. And then I got to go sell it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I do.
And
I think I do think there is a, one-on-one part or a lone part for some of creating, but then if you're just trying to do it all on your own and you're not getting anywhere, then I think collaboration is crucial.
I think for me, it's like make it, share it is like repeated on all these different levels. It's like,
Yeah.
you make things and share it within the project.
Yeah.
So I write a lot at home, and I'm going to work on some stuff I'm writing today.
Right.
But I'm going to send it to the collaborators, who then we're going to kick it around before the whole thing is made between us and them, before it's shared with the audience. So like the make it, share it happens at the small level, micro, to get it done. Then the whole thing's made, and then we share it again with some audience.
Yep.
And I don't think I did that for a long, long, long time. I thought I had to make it myself until it was done, then go share it with an audience. So collaborator wasn't in there. And when you do it that way, get your drinks ready. As Rick Rubin would say, if the audience creeps in before it's done, you've probably messed up.
Yeah, that's so true.
If you've thought about money or who's going to listen to this before it's done, that's kind of a kiss of death.
Yeah.
And I was 100% guilty of that for years, trying to write the album or the book or the screenplay that I thought people wanted. And that's a rough spot.
It's also not very fun. I like doing things with people. I mean, certain people. I mean, I'm choosy, but that matters too. Trust, circle of trust. So
I think that's why I get the jobs I get now with music. And I just saw a thing on a guy that visited the Michelangelo's David, right? And so he was really getting into the history of Michelangelo's David and taking all these pictures of the statue. And I found it really interesting because it took him like 3 years to do. And it's so amazing. At this point in my life and career, I am never brought in by Michelangelo because he just got a giant piece of marble and he looks at me and goes, "Hey, dude, they're going to pay me to build this statue. What do I do?" I get called in year 2. And it's like, man, here's where I'm hitting a wall. I don't think his left leg is looking right. Something looks wonky. How do I get this finished on time?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts to what I've gotten so far? And where I've been able to build up trust and equity is when you come in late in a project. And I learned this from Chad Copeland, the guy who produced all the South of Royal and a lot of the Village stuff. He didn't like certain people to be in the studio at certain times because of the kind of feedback they provided.
Yeah.
So he wanted people to come late. That guy, he can come do his stuff on day 4 because the songs will be almost complete then. And it will stop him from being able to say, I don't like this, because we're not going to start over. We don't have the time. The marble has been chiseled. I can't say, I don't know, did you ever think about making him sitting down? I think that would be cool. It's like, dude, no, I'm a year in. He's standing. It's obvious. Like, what? So I'm never that dude. I'm only going to provide feedback and suggestion and help of what I can look at the project and go, well, this could be helpful. We aren't going to scrap and start over, which no one's going to do anymore. And so that's my role. And it's been weird to see that over a long period of time, it took me to realize that that's how I was created to create. Like, that's my gifting, which you have to have other people or I don't even have an opportunity to work.
Yeah.
Like, I needed someone else that had an idea, started going, and now they're hitting some deadlines. Or just like everybody, you look up and go, golly, I liked it when I started, but something about it right now, that thing we all go through, I hate it right now. Right now, it's horrible. It's the worst thing I've ever done. And you're just like, no. I think a few things, it's like Rick Rubin says, sometimes you have to reduce. And I think that's where Rick Rubin is a genius, where you start to build a table and you put 3 legs under it. And you're like, oh, it's not finished. And instead of just putting the 4th leg under it and being like, hey, I got a table, people go 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th leg. And you're like, no, it's a table still, and it's not going anywhere. You got 10 legs on it. That's awesome. But do we need 6 of them? What happened? Let's listen to it if we had delete 6 of them. So he called himself the great reducer. He would reduce records instead of produce records. So those early Run DMC and I think Beastie Boys, he's labeled on the album as reduced by Rick Rubin.
That's hilarious.
And I'm like, sometimes that's what it takes. They knew something was wrong. They didn't know how to fix it, so they added. And then I have to come in and go, golly, get these things out of here. Now it sounds good.
Yeah.
But that's a weird place to be. And when you're 20 years old, you're not going to aspire
Right.
to being a helper,
Yeah.
collaborator,
right.
and not an originator.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's God's path. And you can kick and fight and scream, which we all will do. And then you wake up in your 40s and go, my goodness, this has been right in my face. And now that's what I get. Those are the only jobs I get.
Yeah.
But I get to work with some really cool people just because I can come in and try to help fix or collaborate.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
I heard this was not the subject he was preaching on, but Tim Keller is actually a profound sermon on prayer. It was so good. It's from like 1999. And he talked about this. He had this machine at his house that brewed tea, but it looked like a coffee machine. And so people would put coffee in it and they'd be like, this tastes weird, And he was like, hey, just this idea of not realizing what you're dealing with and using it for the wrong thing. So even for you, Stephen, where you're trying to put coffee in a tea brewer and the Lord's like, no, I made you to brew tea, or I made you
100%.
to be a reducer. I made you to come in and see a project in the middle of it and make it better and see from the outside, just an outside perspective of what it needs. And you're really good at that, but you're also great at doing it in a way that doesn't make people feel bad about what they're making. You make it better and you make the creator or the creative feel better about it and not like,
Cool.
well, what have I been doing?
Well, the thing that happened early on, I don't even know when, in my 20s, I stopped caring about putting my name on stuff.
Yeah.
And when you're not going for credit,
pillar,
it changes everything. Your relationship to any other creatives.
Yep.
How am I going to get paid? All those things you just start really are the first and foremost thing on your mind, I think, are just deal killers. And then you get into that habit. You're like, I don't want my name on this. Like, I don't know what that's going to do to me or people reacting. So you're just like, no, it's fine. Doing it was what we were here to do. And we got it accomplished and we'll make some money and we'll go to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
But there's a competitiveness that when you feel that, people bail. And credit grabbing, people will bail and it ruins projects pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird vibe, especially in a recording studio kind of a thing when it's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, mine, there's a few things. One is the book My Friends by Friedrich Bachmann. That's the one I was referencing, Coop, that you're going to, you must read.
I was about to say, really, I got to write this down in my notes.
Anybody that is a fan of Make It, Share It, you're just like, just read the book and yes, you're welcome.
Awesome.
But it's basically about a painting called The Sea. And it's this, like in the story, a very famous painting by an artist called C. Yacht, that's from the beginning, that's not really the artist's name. It's a pen name, speaking of names. But you start with this orphaned girl who this painting, in the midst of all of her going from orphanage to orphanage and suffering physical abuse and verbal abuse, this painting is something that's like always given her like a North Star of hope. And so she finally gets to see it in person. And then once she sees it, this whole mystery actually starts to kind of come alive about the origin of the painting. So C. Yacht's story, which then we start to move between her story and C. Yacht's story and figure out how the painting even came to be. What's the story of the painting? And it becomes this beautiful story about where we come from, about art, about friendships. And it's like, it's amazing. I even looked at the rights because I was like, I want to make this movie. His last movie, I think, sold for $25 million to make, that Tom Hanks was in, called A Man Called Uwe.
Yeah.
So it's probably out of my range at this point. Maybe in the future.
Let's lowball.
Let's see. What about 5,000? What would you guys think?
5,000.
Such a great line. How do you feel about $5,000, my man?
Yeah. So, but My Friends, I have a quote from my next book, but that book is just essentially, if you tried to get the quotes, you would just be reading the book. It's beautiful. So I highly recommend people, and even the themes you guys have been talking about are all explored in My Friends.
Okay.
The second one is Theo of Golden, which I'm in the middle of, and it's not as good as My Friends, but it has some great lines. And Theo of Golden's about this man in his 70s from Portugal that goes to a little town called Golden in the U.S. on the East Coast. And we're not really sure why he's there. He's very kind of guarded with his past and why he's there. Then they say he's exploring properties that he owns there. But he goes into a coffee shop that is on the main street of Golden, the little town of Golden. And there's these portraits everywhere in the coffee shop of individuals. They're all just like hand-drawn portraits of people. And he gets mesmerized by them and the stories behind each person in the portraits and the artist who created them. But what he does is he begins to purchase each one, and then he wants to give the portrait back to the person who it's actually of. But his only caveat, he's going to just give it to him, but his only caveat is for them to meet him at a bench, this old man that they don't know, and he's going to give them the portrait. He just needs to hear their story. That's like the exchange. And so
I need to
really
read that
beautiful story, but a couple of quotes from this that I love. He ends up meeting the artist behind them, and they're having a conversation about what is good art. And the quote is, "It's hard enough to define what art is, much less good art. I wonder if there is such a thing. Maybe there are just good responses. But I guess if a work of art makes us see something familiar in a new way, or makes us feel something we ought to have felt all along, or shows us our place in the world more clearly, maybe then it qualifies as good. If it makes us better somehow, maybe that's what gives it value." So great line about art.
Yeah.
And then a great line that Theo, somebody is in, just tears after they've shared, somebody's actually listened to their story and what's behind their face and are just kind of like, why would you do this? And how do you do this? And Theo's response is, I simply help people sit still long enough to see what is already there. So highly recommend those two pieces of fiction. And it's funny for me because I do love story, but I have tended to as well over the past couple of decades to mostly take story in through movies and TV shows. And then with books, it's all nonfiction. It's been a lot of nonfiction. And so I'm on the kind of same journey of getting back to fiction. And it's been so good. So it's a
game changer.
Yeah.
Because there's something about when you get into a good book, you're reading it every day and you're trying to find time during the day to read it. And it's such a different input from anything TV or phones.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like a steroids for writing. Like there's something it's doing. It's creating some kind of creative, the neurons are firing. It's just like I don't know. It made me, I'm writing a pilot right now, Kent.
Yeah.
I haven't done that. I've never done that. Never done that in my life. Collaborating with one other guy, but I'm mostly writing it and trusting him to tell me it's garbage or not.
Right.
And I'm writing it for one person and I'm doing, golly, man, listeners, I apologize. I do listen to and read people other than Rick Rubin, but I'm listening to the Rick Rubin idea of like, make the thing you'd want to hear, make the thing you'd want to see, make it for one person. Sometimes if you have an audience, but it's like, I'm going to make a movie that would make Kent Rabelais cry.
I'm so glad you said that
works.
Because I did want to circle back just to say the audience piece, and he notes this, can be helpful if it's for one.
Yep.
And it's born out of love, and I want to help this person know that I see them, that type of thing. Yeah.
It frees you up from all the other imposter syndrome and my good or my bad things to me, because this is like, so it was a conversation with a friend, the guy who I'm going to collaborate with on this, about movies we loved in the 80s and early 90s, this one series of movies that have just gone forever. The actor in them, I can't say it yet in case this goes anywhere, but the actor is gone forever. We look him up, find him on Instagram, looks like $1 million, just the nicest, most inspirational, just fun dude living his life in his 60s. And we thought, what if, not a reboot, not any of that, what if we wrote something for that character that only this guy can play, No one's thought about this character in 40 years. What would that look like? And so we're literally writing it together because we love it. It's something that we would want to see.
Yep.
And my only goal is to get him to read it.
Yeah.
And if nothing else ever happens, it's almost like when you see like a Comic-Con and a 12-year-old walks up and goes, "Hey, I drew this for you." And the guy goes, "This is awesome." And they keep it maybe for just the next 10 minutes. But like that was, hey, I've enjoyed your art so much. I want to give you my art. And that's why that kid drew it. The kid didn't draw it to win a prize or to get money. I'm back to that. I'm a 12-year-old kid who loved those movies and that series. And I'm going, I wrote something and it's just for you. I'm not going to shop it, but if you want to do this, it exists now. And let's go and just see what happens. So really the only goal I have to do is find a weird way to get this dude to read it.
I mean, the one thing I'll say is getting Tom Cruise to read stuff is hard, but I wish you the best. No, this sounds like the anti-Tom Cruise. So
it is. When I say it, you guys are just going to laugh and be like, it's so in my wheelhouse. It's ridiculous. It was fun finding a guy who's a little bit younger than me that I used to work with forever and ever at that old day camp that had the same memories. Like it meant as much to him. And that's where we bonded and we're like, what happened to that dude? You know? Yeah. And then we went down that rabbit trail and good old social media, find him real quick.
Yep.
And he's alive. Cool. That was our first question. Is he
alive?
Yeah.
Hope he's doing okay. So it's fun, but I don't think I would have been like, I'll circle back to this. I would say we had that cool conversation. That conversation led to, wouldn't it be cool if this happened? And I don't think I would have gone home and re-downloaded Final Draft and started putting my notes down if I hadn't been reading mystery books and crazy things. I think it would have been like the analytical part of my brain would have taken over and been like, I don't know how to write a pilot. I don't know how to shop a pilot. I'm not represented with anybody on the TV or movie side. I don't have time. Like, I think that's what would have happened to that project if I had not been reading cool books at the last year or two.
Love it. Yeah. That's a big Stephen King on writing. He makes that exact point. So it's a great book about
interesting
creative process, but everything you just said, that's one of his key points to writing, especially writing fiction. So
cool.
Okay, so I'm going to do one more piece that'll transition us into projects that we're working on for a little bit. So this is from my friend Craig Cunningham, who's the author of One Night in 1,000 Years and a lot of other stories that you can find out. But he has a Substack, and I sent this to Lauren and Coop just because it resonated with me. And his post is, "You should probably quit," and other dirty lies. But here's what he wrote. "You should probably quit. You aren't going to make it. You're an imposter. You're going to be found out. There is no point to this. Your skill set is outdated. Nobody likes your work. Every project you've done has failed. You have nothing to offer the world. Writing stories is a waste of time. This will never pay you well enough. Your projects are boring. You lack talent. AI has made you obsolete. You don't have anything new to say. They're laughing at you. You need more followers. You are delusional. Art is a hobby, not a calling. You should be further along. You're too small to make an impact. No one is listening. You misused your gifts. You're screaming into the void. Your work doesn't matter. The liar will say anything to keep you from pressing forward. Kill him, then keep walking." So
I have a really weird hot take on this.
All right.
Because I think a lot of people will say those are lies. They're not true. Kill the liar, move forward. When you were listing all those things, half of them are 100% true for me. I don't have all the talent. No one's listening. It doesn't stop me from doing the thing, though.
Right.
And it doesn't interfere. Like, if I had to check all those boxes, I wouldn't be able to get anything done. So you don't need some AI is making me obsolete. Like, there are some things that, like, that is true. And that's true. Like, if you go back through that list, there were 4 or 5 at the very beginning. I was like, uh-oh. But again, it was like where we found your niche and being the tea maker. Like, well, when I try to be something else, those things not being true hamper and disable me from doing anything. But once I found my route in that world that are true, like what's been painted for me, I can work and make and create and stuff. But again, I think the outcome makes those things lies. Like if you care about followers, if you care about attention, if you're doing it for those things in mind, then those lies can creep in early in the process and totally derail everything and warp your goals and creative process. But there's some truth in there, man. For me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think that some of the best lies are have an element of truth, you know? Right. And I agree. I think it's a matter of what are you going for? What's your starting point? And then what is your goal? And I think you're right, Coop, in that, it will shape you. How you respond to those lies, half truths, or mainly true, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you sent those, I was like, I identify with most, if not all. And I think you're right, Coop. I mean, there's some that I'm like, I'm looking at them right now. That's where they are true, you know, but also some of them at that you should probably quit. That one has played most often in my mind. And usually I'll have a feeling of maybe a season change and a change in how I'm using my gifts or my calling or my talents, those things God's given me to create. And so, what I'll do is that will become, instead of it's a season change, you should just quit. You should stop. It's not worth it. That's old. You know, sometimes it's almost like a benevolent, you should make room for other people. And so it's like, I mean, some of that's kind of true, you know, right. But it's not completely true. And so when I've been in those places, I've asked the Lord, okay, what is true in this? And usually you should probably quit is not true. But what's tied to that is, you're in a new season, but you're not leaving those things behind. You're taking them with you because this is tied to your identity, in a sense of not that what I create is who I am, but I'm creating out of who I am. So listeners, go back and listen to our episode with Jamie Winship. That was really helpful when it comes to creating. That God's made me a certain way, and I'm not going to change that. But so I bring that to bear on what I'm doing. I don't let that shape my identity, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so like I'm taking that with me into the next season that is shifting some things. And then the other lie, making room for others, doesn't mean that I've got to completely disappear. It can look different. And I think that's where I'm exploring right now is, God, I don't want to quit some things that I'm doing right now. There was a season where I kind of did. I was just tired. I was just really tired in creating and using my gifts in a certain area. I didn't have the fire that I'd had before. And some of that was good because some of it was, the fire was because if I don't do this, who am I? And now I've had a shift where I'm like, oh, I know who I am and I enjoy doing this, but I'm coming at it differently now. Yep. And so I'm having to explore coming at it differently. And am I okay with that? How do I feel? I'm very feelings driven. How do I feel about that? And so now having to look at it as, no, I don't have to quit. It's just a shift in how I'm approaching this. It's a shift in how this is going to work out in my life and just where I am as a mom and what I've got going on in my life, different things that are pulling at me that are actually more exciting than they used to be to me. And then making space for others in kind of the creative pursuits that I have, the places I'm using my gifts doesn't mean that I disappear. And I think that's just a shift for me too, of making room doesn't mean disappearing. It can look different. And I'm just exploring that with the Lord and with others that I trust.
Yeah. The two in here that seem the most dangerous to me are every project you've done has failed. And that comes back to never setting an expectation when you start a project.
Yeah.
Like I always think John Mayer has a real good piece on this. And then Rainn Wilson from The Office was like, he's the funniest guy, probably the most popular guy on the biggest comedy TV show in America, making hundreds of thousands of dollars per episode. And all he was in his brain was like, yeah, but I'm not getting movie roles. I'm not getting leading guy movie roles. So he never enjoyed, it was like The Office was a failure to him while he was doing it. Now he looks back and sees how ludicrous that is.
Yeah.
And John Mayer's the same way. Like, you sell 7 million albums. Well, there's a guy next to you that sold 10. Are you a failure? Like, every project's a failure because I wasn't number one. Like, that defining expectations and success.
Yeah.
If you almost everyone, in other words, can look back and say that is true. Every project I've done has failed because I never ended up on top. And then the other one, art is a hobby, not a calling. And I think my art became, I wanted it to be my calling. I wanted it to be my life. I wanted it to be my career. Didn't work out that way. It's always been my hobby. And then it's like the hobby turned into a career. And so I'm like, but does it matter if art is your hobby or your career as long as you're doing it? That's the point I wish somebody would have like pulled me aside and said, the goal is to play bass for 70 years, not to play bass awesome and make a ton of money for 5 years and have one project do well. Like, and Lauren, I will bring you and your dad back into this and back to your EP. I'm not even kidding, because I had maybe one daughter and she was less than a year old or somewhere in there, very, very young, when we performed your EP in Deep Ellum. And your dad came on stage and played guitar and he whistled, which I was like, Johnny Walker, man of many talents.
Many talents. He can play the harmonica too.
They can.
No, I don't like the dude. He can also like retile a pool and build a house. And he's an accountant. I'm like, get out of here,
Doesn't
dude.
make sense.
I don't like this guy at all. And he plays bass. So it's like there was something about me being on stage and going, this guy is performing on stage in Deep Ellum with his daughter leading the songs she's written and recorded. And this is like the release party. And I remember thinking, that might be the end all be all of why we're here and what we're trying to do. Like that kind of blew my mind. And it really did stick with me of like, Kevin Smith talks about it. Like, you stop becoming the person who's trying to get in the spotlight and you start becoming the stage for other people to perform on. And it's like, you start trying to give other people the place to go do stuff. You become the spotlight instead of trying to be in the spotlight. And so that shifted my goals and priorities of like, man, if I'm still able to play bass and I'm still playing, and one of my daughters happens to go down this road and I'm whistling on a stage backup for my daughter in Deep Ellum in 2042, that's it, man. I'm good to go. I'll pack it up.
Another fun fact about him, I think he listens to that song Praise Him that I wrote every morning. Every morning.
That's a good dad.
And he plays it and I'm just like, thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
It's just, and that makes it worth it. So like,
yeah.
you know, your audience could just be one person. Like you said, you know.
I'm thinking about you writing that for your kids, Lauren.
Yes.
But then your dad too being like right there in sort of that second like circle, almost first, you know, but you know, kind of second now in life. But these like people that are so close to you that if nothing else, like it is just immensely impacted their lives.
Yes.
So I love that.
So if it's just your mom or dad that loves it, it's worth making.
It's worth
and
doing
more than
it.
likely it's not going to be just
For
them.
sure. Yeah, that's right. It'll go.
Somebody
Gosh,
told me
that's great.
once, like, you were talking about this earlier, of like, and how you described art and what art is and how you react to it. And so when I was trying to describe things to these, when I was teaching that songwriting class to like 12, 13, or 14-year-olds, for that age specifically, I was like, man, I'm going to introduce them to a lot of weird music. And my point to releasing or wanting them to experience weird music was to be yourself. Do you think anyone thought there'd be a harmonica-led, driven pop band? Welcome Blues Traveler. Yeah. Listen to how weird Dave Matthews is. Listen to how weird these songs are. Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody. Like, that is the weirdest operatic song. It's 10 minutes long or whatever. And it's huge. It's like, no, be yourself, play the songs you hear in your head. So part of that was always, if you don't like a song, I don't want to hear a lot of this sucks. I hate this band. I don't want to hear any of that. You just say, if you have to say something, this one's not for me. I don't dig this one. I'm not a big Dave fan, but his drummer's amazing. Like there's something in there you can analyze and find some silver lining, right?
Yeah.
And so I've learned that working on something, to me, if I'm working on something and it's super new and unknown and I'm just throwing stuff out there and one person's like, oh, that part's cool. I'm like, I'm done. I've done my job. That's it. That's all I needed. One person thought it was cool, and they will. Someone, it might be hard to find your audience, but if it gets out there, and it might be your dad, will go, that's cool. And then you're like, I can eject now. I'm good.
Yep.
Love it.
That's all that matters, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I was going to have us talk about what we're working on, but it's like we're 53 minutes into this podcast.
I feel like we did. Although, Lauren, if you have does Lauren have time to do her?
Well, she can do it. It's up to her.
Yeah. I mean, I'll share something that I'm working on that's actually like a space, something that you can eventually come visit.
Yeah.
And it was in my heart probably 4 years ago. And the Lord just kept changing it. And I just kept putting it before him and trusting him with it. And he started bringing the right people around for it to come to fruition. Once I felt like I had to just release it to him and say, hey, I want to do this with you, not for you. And so when I surrendered it, he like the next day started bringing people to bring it into fruition. And I'm hoping to give you more information soon. But I will say it's been one of the most faith-building, exciting things I've ever been a part of. It has absolutely nothing to do with music, which is interesting, but it is so satisfying to see the Lord. Like we've had some things have just been like green light, just able to keep moving. We've had some red lights, but I'm really hopeful because the Lord just keeps coming through on it. And I cannot wait to share it with the listeners, share it with our community. It will be somewhere that you can visit. And I really hope that you would love it. And yeah, it's been a passion project. It's one of those things that I'm creating because I wanted it. And the Lord did put it in my heart, but it's been neat. Everyone that has joined the project has been, oh my gosh, this is what I've been looking for. This is what I've wanted to be a part of, all the way down to the colors we're choosing and the look and the feel and even the location. So it's really exciting. And
that's so cool.
That's the little teaser for now, but I'll fill in more.
Yeah. That's the two things you hit on that I wanted you to say.
Yeah.
Were that you've had this idea for 4 years plus.
Yep.
So that's inspiring.
Yeah.
Always have a notebook with these big ideas so you don't forget them, you don't lose them. You can always kind of go back and mess with them. And then that's the other, big green light to collaborate.
Yeah.
Is because you do have to let it go and bring other people in, or we'll all feel like red lights.
Yes.
Once you have a team, more green lights start popping up. And when you're facing all those red lights alone, that's when you quit. That's when it becomes insurmountable.
It's too much. Yeah.
It's too much. So it's like, and you would have been having this dream 10 years from now if it was just Lauren's dream and Lauren had to find the time and the space and the capacity to get it done. So the second you were like, let's take a run at this, now it's happening.
It is
and
happening.
Now you're picking colors, which is all. Yeah.
It's so fun.
That's super cool.
I think the collaboration has made it more fun. And I think having one another to, when one of us is kind of struggling, like, is this what we're supposed to be doing? The other usually is like, yes, I think this is exactly what we're supposed to be doing. We've got this, or, the Lord's come before us. We're just going to keep trucking along. And that's been, you talked about inspiration, what's been inspiring you lately. And it also has been stories of people that I know personally that have had big dreams and they looked insurmountable, but they started building a team and taking steps towards it and dedicating it to the Lord. And I've gotten to enjoy the fruit of their faith and their labor and their trust in God. And so people's stories who have stepped out in big ways have inspired me too. Yeah.
Well, we're excited for the day that it is
Yep.
fully public, but thanks for letting us in the audience a little bit on it. So
yeah, thanks for asking.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, I'll save some of the other stuff for another episode. I think our next two will be with guests, and then maybe after those two, we'll dive into some of the other projects we're working on and some of the lessons we're learning in those things, and maybe some things will be more public at that point anyway, or further down the road for all of us. So, and you guys keep making and sharing what's on your heart, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Just go for it. Don't think about what comes after or what came before. You just